What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Podcast 64 Full Court Talk. What's going on? How you guys doing?
Good as always, man. How are you?
Good.
Doing
I'm
good, bro.
excited. This is gonna be a fun one. There is a ton of drama going on. The Robert Sarver case or article was dropped, and it did not disappoint. There's a ton of interesting points on there, so we'll get to that. And then something that kind of came out of like left field, Trailblazers hostile workplace. The general manager Neil Olshley has created a hostile workplace apparently. And the thing I want to talk about is, could this push Dame out of Portland for good? Um, Topic three: Trae Young says that the regular season is boring. So I want to hear what you guys think about this quote. Uh, and Karl Anthony-Towns might want out. Likes a tweet that says "free cat." Uh, Apparently, he says he was hacked, but we'll get to that. So starting with the first one, so the Robert Sarver bomb dropped. So the article is very good. I don't know if you guys got a chance to read it. I saw a bunch of snippets. I read the articles. Um, he sounds insane. I guess it's like, it's not just him. I guess it's the board of governors and some executives, all white men, all have different problems within the Phoenix Suns organization. The one that kind of like one thing that was very weird. He's like Robert Sarver was showing people pictures of his wife in a bikini, talking about like basically discussing their sex life in the workplace to random people. And then when somebody pressed him on it, he was like, "Well, I pay you guys, so I can do whatever the fuck I want." And I was like, "God damn, he's insane." And then obviously there was the comment about getting local women to impregnate incoming free agents, and saying that if they're impregnated, they will create roots in Phoenix, which is an insane thing to say. And this was happening during LaMarcus Aldridge, I guess, interview or like pitch to get him to come to Phoenix. And then there was the thing that kind of stuck out to me. Like, I don't know why everyone has a problem with Draymond Green, but I guess Earl Watson and Sarver were talking, and Sarver just starts using the N word, and Earl Watson's like, "No, you can't fucking say that." And Sarver's like, "Why?" Draymond Green says it up and down the court, and it's like, "You're a white man," but okay.
Yeah.
So I want to get what you guys think. What do you guys think about the article? Do you guys think it's true? And I don't know if you guys saw, Earl Watson actually came out and said he's happy that the truth is coming out. So I think there's some truth to it because Earl Watson seems like a very honest person. But what do you guys think?
Personally, after seeing all the stuff that you guys have been sending in the group chat and seeing the reports, which I want to add, there's not a lot of it on my timeline. Maybe it's just because of the people that I follow, but I think there should be more coverage regarding it. But I just want to say that I was never skeptical of whether or not it was true because although it was teased to us, it's kind of crazy how it was teased in the beginning and then how it was eventually released with so many people coming out. And I think that the thing that did it for me is Earl Watson. Like you said, he's a pretty stand-up guy. I think he's very honest from the interviews that he's done and seeing how he is as a coach. For him to say something like that, it only confirms what happened. And I think it's just ridiculous of how, like you said earlier, Spence, how he was saying that about his wife and talking to um, his workers the way that he was doing. I think it's a classic sign of a person in power believing that they can do whatever they want just because they have the money and they have the assets, and it's just very unfortunate for the people that are affected because it's very difficult for them, right? And also that interview, I mean not interview, but that claim that what was going on during the LaMarcus Aldridge pitch is just ridiculous, bro. Because especially with what happened with PJ Washington, man, I am so sorry. If that was the case. But like you said, like a lot of people don't like Draymond. The way that you feel about it is, the way that you feel. But in order to address him the way that he said, very disrespectful, and also childish. his reasoning is just because Draymond says it, I mean, why can't I, right? I mean, bro, there's a color and a racial barrier, right? And I think eventually, obviously, there's going to be a lot of investigations, a lot of interviews, and which is going to move on to our next topic with the Blazers. But now it's going to start a frenzy because a lot of people may be comfortable enough to come out and discuss what was happening to them, right? And so that's going to start up a whole different thing. And I'm not saying it's not true, but it's just, Robert Sarver, right? I always think it's Sacre.
The GOAT.
No disrespect to the GOAT, man. But Sarver, it's ridiculous. As an owner of the NBA, like as fans, like we don't want to repeat of what happened with Ballmer, and this is very close.
Yeah, the story dropped a week ago pretty much, and it's just so crazy because one, it's super long, but it's very much worth the read. Obviously Earl Watson is one of the marquee names, and I think what's important is that there's 70 plus people saying this. It's not 7. It's hard to get 7 or 17 people to agree on one thing, but 70 plus, there's something there. And I listen to like sports radio way more than I should. People are saying that they're afraid, or like it gets compared to the Donald Sterling and the Clippers because, it's a racist, misogynist, all that stuff. But that instance had like hard evidence. We had audio that everyone heard and it circulated. This one is more word of mouth, and these quotes by people. But what I think is important is people like Earl Watson put their name on it. And, Earl Watson was a former player, been in a couple places on staffs. So he has a good standing in the league. And a bunch of Sarver's responses feel like just a bunch of PR. He has lawyers and attorneys helping him write this stuff. And then regarding the story of his wife in the bikini, the response was something like, a local fashion vendor had rights to make stuff for the NBA. And, I took a picture of my wife in it and, and then he like gave it to the team. Oh, here, if you want to put this around and promote it. Like honestly, they're doing their damnedest, as they should, because they're getting paid. But I mean, it's just a bunch of PR BS. So I hope it gets dealt similarly to how Sterling was, because they should try to weed as much of this out of the league as possible. And again, I know there's no cold hard evidence. There's no video. There's no sound. But people putting their names on these stories should matter. And I remember this. There's another story where there was a pregnant woman who was in charge of running stuff in 2009 when they had the All-Star game, and then he took her off of it, saying some super inappropriate thing about, you're gonna be too busy breastfeeding your child, so I'm gonna have these 2 guys step in for you. It's like, dude, these are real quotes from real people. So I hope he doesn't survive it. I really don't. Because even other owners of that team are speaking out against him. So I just want to see it unfold. Hopefully we can get him out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting like deep dive into this, and like having 70 current and former employees speak out against you is a testament to how true this probably is. And obviously not every person's going to be truthful. I think a lot of things are going to be stretched, and I think some things are just going to be outlandish, and some of these things are very outlandish. Like I couldn't believe them, but at the same time, like there's a lot of weird people out there. And like one of them, I forgot to say, I guess he and some other executive were calling another employee or some executive Carlton because he was a black man, and like they were repeatedly told to stop. and they wouldn't. So it's just like a very like the whole thing is just sounds like a power trip. And I want, like, of course, as NBA fans, we don't want this in our league. It makes it look bad, and there's no place in any kind of sports league for something like this. So it's just sad to see something like this happen again. Because the Donald Sterling case was so bad at the time. It was at such a bad time during the playoffs. And for the Suns, it's kind of at an equally bad time because you're trying to establish yourself as a team, and you can't. You're off to a really slow start. You're dealing with a ton of distractions going into the season. And then on top of that, you're trying to retain DeAndre Ayton. So do you guys think with Sarver maybe going out, do you think it's a possibility that DeAndre Ayton stays? Or do you think it's or do you think it's more of like, I'm done with them. I don't want anything to do with the Suns and I'm out. What do you guys think?
First of all, I got the names confused. Ballmer, I'm sorry. Give me money. Not Sterling. But yeah, I would say so because like I said, we're gonna discuss later on about Dame and his situation. But I would say so. It's like going to a job. Why would you want to work for somebody who is disrespectful and has had a history of being rude and racist? And obviously, there's, like Myles mentioned, there is no documentation, there is no audio, but it's just you get 70 people collective of sharing their stories, and it's pretty much the same pattern. It's tough not to address that, but I would definitely say so. DeAndre Ayton, there's a reason why he's upset, and it's obviously the extension, but add that with the current situation, and it's not a good mix. So ultimately, like, my answer is yes. I would not be surprised if he ends up elsewhere.
I think it depends on. Oops, excuse me. Sorry, that was Jokic tackling Markieff Morris. I think it depends. If James Jones is out of there too. Personally, I don't think it looks good for him because he's been loosely standing up for Sarver, and I would say both of them are the two most responsible for not being able to reach an agreement with Ayton. So if I was him, like, even if Sarver leaves, you kind of look at James Jones like, well, you could have fought harder to convince him to pay me, all that kind of stuff. So that's the way I see it. So we'll see if James Jones can survive if Sarver is even let go.
Yeah, I think it's a very delicate situation for the Suns. Your championship window is already very small, and it could get even smaller with Ayton wanting to leave. And if this season does go poorly and Robert Sarver's out, maybe they clean house in the front office and they go the route of just blowing that up, because it's a really bad look on all of the executives because there's so many different accusations being thrown around. So we'll definitely keep an eye on this because it sounds like this is just the beginning of this whole article. And I'm definitely excited to see what else comes out of it, because the drama has come in from the off season, and it's going to keep going because it's getting worse and worse for a lot of teams. But that takes us into the Blazers. And so this kind of came out about last week, maybe early. Neil Olshley, the Blazers general manager, has been accused of making a hostile workplace in the front office for the Blazers. I think I read that it's non-player personnel. So it's employees working for the Blazers organization. And to be honest, I don't know much about it. I read the articles and I didn't see much about what was going on. I did see that he had a couple of things filed against him, but I didn't see exactly what it was. But at the end of the day, do you think something like this is enough to keep or to push Damian Lillard out? Because in my opinion, it's like, if he's flighty already, then he's like taking the one thing and like, okay, I'm out of here. because it took a long conversation with Chauncey Billups to keep him. So do you guys think that something like this, some kind of drama, is enough to push him out?
I think it is for sure. Sorry. We don't know much about it because much hasn't been released. In the article that Shams wrote, he said the nature of the misconduct allegations against Olshley is not currently known, so they still have to investigate it. I would reserve judgment for until that comes out and we see and hear how egregious whatever crimes may be. But yeah, like for sure, I feel like the things on the court are not that great. So anything extra off the court, it's like, why am I even here? Like Dame's 32, he's not getting any younger. It's just so crazy how franchises are so sloppy, and there's probably way more that are so dysfunctional that we don't even know about.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think the equation I want to bring here is the coach that they got, the players that they signed, and now this. So put all that together, and that's 3 strikes. So I know Dame has pledged his loyalty to Portland, and I respect him for it. You know, he's not a chump running from the grind. But Dame, I think you need to start running away, bro. You need to start running away from the grind. And like Myles said, he's 32. He's not getting any younger, and his window is not necessarily closing. But as you can see with this rough start to the season, we can see that Dame is actually human now, right? Offensively, it hasn't been there except when they play the Lakers. Real great. But like I said, I'm not too sure because, like you guys mentioned, there has to be an investigation that has to be conducted. And it's another off-court distraction for him. But with his demeanor, obviously we don't know these players personally, but with his demeanor, I get the impression that he would like to stay off of that standpoint with the franchise and just start to hoop. Like he's the type of guy that if it's probably brought up, and I know there's a media outlet that's going to bring it up, he's just going to brush it off and talk about basketball. But it is an encouraging way for him to get out, because obviously what happened isn't encouraging, but it's one way that he could probably use to get out of the situation that he's in. Because like I said, the 3 things that I mentioned, starting from the off season, have not been good. And they get Chauncey, Zeller. Myles loves Zeller.
So bad.
That's his. It's his Kuzma, and then now this. So obviously, like, for the sake of those involved, I hope it's not as severe as what's it sounding. But this right here, it can be that last straw for him. I do believe that it can be.
Yeah, and I think with Dame, it's like it all feels like Kevin Durant to me. He's pledging like, "Oh, I'm here for the long haul," and he'll end up leaving. Portland hasn't done enough to keep Dame. Same thing with the Thunder. They didn't keep James Harden when they had a good core going. They let him walk. Obviously, the Blazers haven't had something like that, but they've had chances to sign big players. They've had chances to sign LaMarcus Aldridge back or extend him at least, and it didn't happen. Can you imagine Marcus Aldridge, Dame, and CJ on the same team? They'd be nasty. But I think at some point you have to put your pride aside and just take the bullet, man. Just go. It's at this point, it's kind of bad because somehow this Blazers team got worse. I feel like Larry Nance has not been good at all. Cody Zeller has not been good. Tony Snell is Tony Snell. It's just a very weird team they put together. And they still don't have a third star, which you need now to compete. If they thought their third star was going to be Nurkic, I mean, he's just a shell of himself at this point. Robert Covington, he's a good player. He's a really good player, but he's not enough to keep Dame in Portland, I feel like. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think as the story kind of grows, I want to see what happens. And it doesn't sound as bad as Robert Sarver. I think hostile workplace, maybe it's him being an asshole more so than, hopefully he's not being racist or misogynistic, but at this point I can believe anything. The NBA owners or at least front office people seem to be assholes. At least the rich white men are.
Hey, Spence, I'll tell you what happened. Dame, you know what to do.
It's Dame time.
Who you
Dame
guys
time.
giving up?
We'll give him Russ. We'll give him Melo back. We'll give him THT. Take whoever they want except for AD and Bron.
You sure about AD?
Bro, hey, you know what? Hey, take Vogel too while you're at it, bro. Give me Fizz.
Bro, guaranteed. Dame, Bron, and AD is better than the team now. Like just the three of those dudes.
I agree.
Anything is better than what you guys have put together. Not gonna lie.
Seriously, bro.
Agreed.
But hey, Kent Bazemore, he's looking good.
Oh, bro, he smoked an open layup. He smoked an open layup and refused to give the ball to AD when AD was being fronted by a guard. I was just telling Spence, why? But it's not Kuzma level for me yet. It's okay. I hope we don't get there.
Wait till he waves off LeBron, airballs a three, and then he's like, "Why don't you come get the ball?" It's bad. But going on to Trae Young, apparently he says that the regular season is boring. So let me read you the full quote, because the media kind of constructed this a different way. He said, "We are no longer the hunters. It's the regular season. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot more boring than the playoffs. You got to find the motivation to play like the playoffs. We have to figure out who's going to sacrifice for this team to win. It's all about winning at the end of the day. If you win, everybody eats." So CJ and I were talking about this before. And I think using the word boring, the media is going to eat you alive. No matter what you're talking about, they're going to construe it into a way to make it seem like you said that the season is boring, I don't want to play, something like that. And that's really what they did. It does read like that if you read just the first part, but I think Trae Young is the ultimate competitor, but he might be too much of a competitor to the point where he doesn't want to compete in the present. He wants to compete for what's ahead. And I think that's going to be a problem. And it showed. This Hawks team has not been very good. They are currently getting smacked by the Warriors after leading to the first half. And I mean, Steph turned it on, so you know how it is. But the Hawks don't look good. But they have had one of the stronger stronger regular season starts in terms of the competition. They are currently 2-6 against playoff teams. So they played 8 playoff teams. So that's tough on them for the first half or first part of the season. They're 4-6 overall, probably 4-7 after tonight. But Trae Young has had a solid start to the season. I think it could be better. Obviously, he's still getting ready to used to the foul changes, so that's a little bit of a excuse for him. But 22-9 is really good. Just as 29% from three is not good for Trae Young. But what do you guys think about this quote? And do you guys think the media kind of misconstrued his words, or do you think he thinks the regular season is actually boring?
Bro, I think he does think the regular season is boring, especially getting a taste of what's to come if he finds success moving forward. Then the rest of the stuff is just kids' games to him. But I don't want him talking like that just because he hasn't achieved much for him to be talking the way that he has. Like, I get it if he had the accolades that probably Steph has. And, Steph doesn't even say that. These guys, they want to be great in the regular season because, I mean, obviously that's where you build the chemistry. That's where you figure out your rotations. But Obviously, his quote was chopped and screwed, obviously, because the media is going to find a way to get you to read what LaMelo Ball said. I mean, not LaMelo Ball, Trae Young said, but I think definitely moving forward, like you said, Spence, he just wants to be out there and go to straight to the Eastern Final so that he may do his thing. Because hey man, during the commercial with Magic and all those guys, hearing all of these comments, it just makes you want to, hey, I want to go out there and showcase what I can do, but not right now, because right now it's just, it is just the regular season. And I was telling Spence this earlier. It almost looks like you're just saying, hey, this stuff right here, like regular season's cool, but postseason is when I really want to turn it up, which is true, but you can't say that. You have to be like, hey, we're regular season, there's not much going on, but we're looking to make a push. We're looking to fix a lot of things, and postseason is where we really put it together. Something along those lines. Not very casual about it, but then at the end of the day, Trae Young is gonna be Trae Young. He's gonna do his thing. And with this quote, after he said, I really want to know what happens when he goes to MSG. That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna say he just needs to play the Knicks for 82 games. Yeah, from the quote, it does seem like he is getting ahead of himself. Obviously, CJ said he doesn't have that. He doesn't have the accolades to do that. And I liked how Nate McMillan checked him, like publicly. He said, "You can't have that mentality, especially as a young group. Doesn't matter what you did last year, even if you were very successful." And yeah, I just don't agree because it's kind of like saying for like a class, like, oh, I'm not gonna do any of the homework or the classwork. I'm just gonna do the tests and pass off of that. It's not very smart. Like you have to put in the work to get to the playoffs, and then you can show what you can do there. But you can't skip that process, especially because they're so young. It's his third or fourth year. Yeah, you made the conference finals last year. What have you done before that? And you're struggling right now. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of not weak, but just kind of distasteful. Because the regular season does matter. Like I love that they added the play-in because it makes it matter more. People care more, and the players care more. So hopefully they can shake it because the Hawks, I like them. They're a very good young team. I do expect them to be pretty active in the trade market, which we'll get to. But yeah, I'm glad you read the full quote, Spencer, because I read it too, and the media did misrepresent it.
Yeah, and I think, but like at the same time, like when you're professional, you have to watch out what you say to the media because at the end of the day, the media is trying to eat too, and they eat off of what you say. And if you give them something juicy like that, they're going to take that and run with it. And that's exactly what they did. If you look at it from how the media put it, it makes him look like a privileged little boy. And he kind of is. He came up from a pretty affluent family, I believe. So it's very interesting to see him say that the regular season is boring. So I didn't like him saying that. Like CJ said, he hasn't really earned his place in the league yet. He's starting to come around, and I think he's going to be a very good player for a very long time. But he's not at that point where he can just say the regular season is boring. I think once he gets a little more time in the league, he'll understand that the regular season is super important, and the best teams make their best imprint in the regular season and kind of become feared. So we'll see what happens with that. Right now, it doesn't look that good for the Hawks as they're sitting in the 12th place, could be 13th by the end of the night. So it's early. They have time to come back, but they don't want to be digging themselves a hole like that.
Yeah.
But getting on to What was that?
No, I was gonna say he also might have just put a target on their backs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Not just from MSG fans, but if you're gonna say the regular season is boring, then other teams are gonna be like, all right, you know what? You think it's boring? We'll give you something to be bored about. Some of these teams are petty, so I mean, you never really know.
Yeah, and like some of these guys are like, some of these players are kind of psychopaths. You give them something to go off of, and they'll take it a
Yeah.
mile. Like Steph, from
Yep.
what I've heard, he reads tweets during halftime. He goes off in the second half. There are some psychopaths in the NBA, so I could see them using this, and Trae Young's gonna learn that eventually. So we'll see. But going on to what Myles kind of hinted at, Karl Anthony-Towns likes a tweet that just simply said #FreeCat. And his excuse was, oh, I got hacked. It was one single tweet. It wasn't like some barrage where some kid goes off saying, oh, I went out. Oh, like some weird stuff. It was one single tweet. And he said that his account was hacked and only 3 people have access to it. And I think it's like his agent, his girlfriend, and himself. And his agent couldn't have done it because he was asleep. And his girlfriend couldn't have done it because she never goes on his account. So it had to be hacked. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think he wants out, or do you think it's Cat kind of sending like subtle shots at the Minnesota Timberwolves for losing? I think it's like 4 or 5 straight now.
I think Cat has Robert Sarver's PR team. He got hacked. Like, what, bro? just own up to it. I think he's kind of building in an excuse where obviously the Timberwolves lost tonight against the Grizzlies, where he's trying to like not be responsible for them losing. I think it's weird because you would think after getting D'Lo, he got what he wanted. And Edwards is such a hooper. Like they're not a bad team. They're just maybe a garbage a garbage franchise thing again. Yeah, I would much rather guys just come out and say they want to leave and get traded rather than just like dance around it, cryptic like likes here. It's just I got hacked. I can't get over it, bro. So funny. Yeah, I like he will definitely get traded if he asks out because after this year, he's still under contract for 2 full years. So teams will give up a lot to get him. It's just a matter of who has the best package.
Yeah, I think Cat is sitting on the fence. He's on the fence about wanting to be out because him and D'Lo, best of friends. Fortunately, it just hasn't panned out. I think there hasn't been a lot of reports about D'Lo because it's mostly been about Cat and Edwards. So if anything, D'Lo's staying under the radar, maybe not. But I think, as Myles said, I'd rather be a fan of I prefer for players to say, "Hey, I want out" publicly, because that way you just owning up to it. And yeah, like it's hilarious when they say that they got hacked because, bro, as a prominent figure in society, there's no way that your stuff isn't protected. And I understand that it happens, but it's the number one excuse when things go bad. When an athlete who's married likes another girl's pictures or doesn't slide in somebody's DM, oh, I got hacked, right? So now it's the same thing, free Cat. Apparently not. So I think it'd be hilarious if the next day they asked him, so you claim that you got hacked, but honestly, do you want out of Minnesota? Put them on the spot, see what they say, But yeah, I think with Cat probably feels like he's done his due diligence in Minnesota, and I would definitely agree if he thought that way. And like Myles mentions all the time, this is just a case of trash franchises. You don't want to waste your talent there. You want to go somewhere where you can actually compete. And so, I would definitely be surprised if Cat is a Timberwolf at the end of the season, maybe even next season, I guess. But I think he is too good to be there. I'm sorry, Minnesota fans. It's about that time. So I think there's definitely we talked about teams that fit him really well, and we talked about a team that could package for him earlier. So it's all in the matter, like Myles said, of who can put up the best deal. But with this cat, it hasn't panned out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think the Timberwolves have a ton of assets to give up in terms of like you have D'Lo, who hasn't been very good on offense, but apparently he's been one of the best defensive guards all of a sudden. You give up obviously in separate deals because I think they make way too much to give up in one deal, but Cat would get you a ton of assets back in terms of either young players or young players and picks. The only thing that concerns me is the Timberwolves are one of the worst like drafting teams. Other than Anthony Edwards, they haven't made a good pick in a long time. And Cat was one of those good picks. But when you have the number one pick, most of the time it's a consensus thing where you have that one guy, oh, he's a can't miss prospect. You get it. Jarrett Culver comes to mind, Ricky Rubio passing up on Steph twice. There's a ton of times where Timberwolves just made the wrong choice. So I don't know if they want picks. But in terms of like who they've been playing this season, they dropped games to the Pelicans and the Magic, two of the worst teams in the NBA. And then dropping back-to-back games against the Clippers. Clippers aren't that good either. So if I'm Cat, I'm obviously pissed because we're losing games that we should be winning, especially when you have a good roster. So it's kind of frustrating for him, I would think. Especially when Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo and Cat are kind of balling out. And then tonight, where you lose against Memphis, where you have the game kind of wrapped up and you fumble it. So it's got to be frustrating. But in terms of teams that could get him, I could see the Warriors because James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, maybe sending him back. There are different ways you could get that done. But the Thunder come to mind. If he wants to go to another young team, play with a guy like Shai, that'd be a pretty interesting fit. They have a ton of picks that they don't want to use, I guess, because they just keep stockpiling them for the next seasons. But there are going to be no shortage of teams that will want Cat. But who else do you guys think will want him?
Well, depending on what comes out on Sarver, I would entertain Phoenix. I think obviously that's less appealing to the Timberwolves because they want probably guys who are under contract for a while and just all the assets possible. I want to say Portland, but I don't want Dame to stay. So, but I mean, just if Dame and Cat would team up, that would be great. I don't want to see him in New York with the Knicks. I don't want to see him in Boston even. I feel like, well, I mean, him and Tatum would be nice, but I just feel like Tatum needs the ball so much that Cat might interfere with that.
For me, I like the Spurs. If in the perfect world, I think if they trade for him, Greg Popovich doesn't hinder on retirement. I think they have a track record of, with the exception of maybe LaMarcus Aldridge, of taking big men and developing them into great players. And I think, with the day and age that we're in terms of who, Cat is now it's considered a stretch big, different from the traditional bigs that they're used to. I definitely think, him and DeJounte Murray, that'd be a good duo. The Spurs also have some pieces, Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker, depending on who they would have to give up, obviously. But I think they keep DeJounte Murray at all costs if it has to happen. And, Devin Vassell and him, I think it's not championship caliber, but it's exciting. And just in a system where, you have a Hall of Fame coach and they have a winning culture with the exception of the past couple seasons. I think it'd be a good situation for him.
Yeah, I think the Spurs would be interesting just because of how they would run things. I'm not sure what they could give up. I think DeJounte would be in that deal because Cat is going to warrant a ton of assets, and a young player like DeJounte would be probably their baseline. But if they could somehow keep DeJounte and get Cat, that'd be pretty nasty, especially with Cat not being the best defender, pairing him up with one of the best perimeter defenders. I'd like to see that for sure. But that's going to do it for us for podcast 64. Thank you guys for coming back. This is always fun.
Thank you as always, man. Love being
Of
here.
course.
Thanks for having us.
But please like, comment, and subscribe. Please check out our social medias down in the description. But that's going to do it for us. So we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.